So the Aer Lingus College Football Series is coming along next year. It's Saturday, August 29th, 2020. It is Notre Dame against Navy. It's the big one. And we've got two people who are central to this event in studio with me at the moment. And I'm delighted to welcome Chet Gladchuck, Athletic Director at the United States Naval Academy, and Paraic O'Kane, who's part of the organising committee for the whole event. Lads, you're very welcome.
Thank you.
It's a sense of welcome back, I presume, Chet. I presume you were here in 2012.
It is. I tell you, we're visiting the same haunts throughout the city, having a great time, really enjoying it. And came over a couple of days ago just to start to work out the detail. You'd think that a game in 2020 is way down the road and there's plenty of time, but there's so many buttons to push and people to visit and places to go to, again, re-engage and kind of, get the excitement back and, again, the awareness that Navy Notre Dame's coming back to town. So we're already looking forward to it.
From the powers that be in Dublin, how excited are they for this event?
It's been great. I tell you, everyone has come together. We had the feature of my life last night, met with the Lord Mayor, and so we're taking it from the top down. All the good people are coming out to welcome us, and it's just the city has been so engaging. From the ambassador's office, again to the city government, to the Bureau of Tourism, everyone has come out to embrace this contest. I think that we really illustrated the last time we were here what an impact it can make on the city. More than a game. Even a football game's a football game, rugby's rugby, but this is an event. It's something that really embraces Dublin. It brings together the Americas here, of course, with the Irish people, with a great sense of tradition, history, a great sense of appreciation for each other, and it's a wonderful event that we've really been proud to be a part of.
Yeah, huge for the economy as well, Paraic. You've been part of this for a couple of years now. As Chet says, a lot more preparation goes into this than just, rocking up next year in 2020 and actually putting the plans in place.
Yeah, 2012, 85 million euro to the Irish economy from that game alone. And indirectly, that game is still given. We know the network and the business events that happened around it, much more than a game. They're still given, connections that were made then, and the same with 14 and 16. So this is the tagline that goes with college football in Ireland, much more than a game, really sees fit. And with Chet and the Navy team over this week, it's not just about the sport in the game, and we know the Aviva very well, and we're with Martin and the team there yesterday, going through the logistics and everything there, but it's what happens around game week as well. It's from really, we kick in from the Wednesday and we'll go to the Sunday, and the city will completely activate and come together and celebrate.
What have you got planned for that week?
So, in the process, hence where the guys are over, but there will be parades, there'll be tailgating, there'll be pep rallies. The numbers are huge here in relation to currently 35,000 of Chet's colleagues travelled in 2012. We're probably on track to beat that. We know we're committed to just under 30,000 tickets at this moment in time that are committed and sold outside of Ireland. So sell-out, yes, and potentially the 12 game was a record for the largest number of Americans ever to travel outside of the States for a sporting event. Outside of wartime, and it looked like this would beat it again. So we're taking the culture between Dublin and America and bringing that together, and we'll be tailgating and we'll be pep rallying. The midshipmen will be travelling, the Notre Dame band and the Navy band will be travelling. So it's all about pageantry. It's about the fun around high schools, everything. And obviously there's a serious game on the Saturday that I know Chet intends to reverse the result on this occasion.
Did you have to remind him?
We'll get to that in just a moment. But August 29th, that suggests to me this is going to be very early in the season, potentially week one.
It is. Week zero, actually.
Week zero.
Week one is the first weekend for college football at large. But we had a special exception made by our governing body, which is the National Collegiate Athletic Association, which allowed us to move the game a week earlier. And I think it's going to be terrific because of the ability of families to travel and tourism. And it's before that Labor Day weekend, which is a big weekend in preparation for people going back to school in the States. So to have a full week come out, enjoy, leading up to the game, and then another week to kind of prepare for the school year, so to speak, to kick in, just places it perfectly. And as Paul mentioned a moment ago, we expect the same type of a crowd. We really do. His corporation actually is managing a lot of the tour packaging and the ticket distribution has already told us that we're 70% ahead of where we were in the last game at this time, leading into the contest. So the energy, the enthusiasm is incredible. And the other thing I thought that was really terrific was the way the Irish community embraced the game. I don't believe there had been an American football game here in quite some time before the last one we played. And whether it was interest or curiosity or what, but I do remember we had about 8,000 tickets that we had saved for the community to distribute when we knew that we had expired every avenue in the Americas to bring over the tourism. And those 8,000 tickets went in 30 minutes on Ticketmaster. I mean, they were gone the moment we put them on. So again, we hope we have that kind of enthusiasm in the United States, which we expect. Again, we're ahead of where we were, but also maybe this time around we can find a way to free up a few more, for again the Irish community, so you can really enjoy something very special. And Navy Notre Dame has gone back, the longest standing intersectional, the two different regions of the country, the longest standing rivalry in the history of college football. So we have gone year in and year out with a rivalry that resonates across the land, and to bring that storied game here, and of course, the Irish, being the kind of the lead draw here in Dublin, makes it something really special, a lot of fun. Yeah, the rivalry is fascinating. I mean, you've been athletic director there for quite some time. Yes. Things weren't great in terms of the rivalry when he took over. They got to a 43-game winning streak at one point, but then you get to 2007, it turns around, and there's been 3 more since then. So I guess from the point that you took over to now, it's kind of like chalk and cheese, really. It's much more positive vibe around the rivalry, I'd imagine. Yeah. Well, typically in sport, a lot of close near misses, almost, 2-foot putts, and you pulled it to the left. And we were right there in the edge for many years. But, you're right. You brought it up. If you did that 43, you're right. I was kind of hopeful we might avoid it here in another country. But you're right. It went years, where we had a little bit of difficult time. But we savored that moment, of course, when we broke that streak, back a few years ago, and it was something special. And in the meantime, our program has gotten very competitive. We're in a conference, which is a very significant conference now. We were an independent, meaning we scheduled independently and played independently. But now it was some pretty heavy horsepower. We've taken our program to a level that has made us nationally competitive, and a program of great national stature, and extremely competitive, with a storied Notre Dame program. Yeah, Paul, from your perspective, it must be interesting looking at the phenomenon that is college football over in the United States, that anybody who's been over there or been to any sporting event of any kind in the United States really knows that they do sport different to how we do it, that it is much more about the event, or not more about the event, just as much about the event as it is about the game. And the game is still extremely important, but that doesn't mean you can't enjoy halftime. It doesn't mean that you can't enjoy the pre-game, all that sort of thing. And I think it's something we haven't yet embraced here in Ireland. We can really learn from it. And the nice thing Chet mentioned about week 0, this is going to be tentatively a 5 p.m. kickoff, whereas up to now we've been at lunchtime kickoff. So the beauty of that is we'll be doing more things in town. We'll be tailgating, we'll be out and about earlier rather than getting to the stadium so earlier. It also is a huge benefit to Ireland, and in other ways this will be the only college football game going out that day on ESPN. That's right. And we're looking at an audience of somewhere between 4 and 6 million. Live US audience taken in Ireland. ESPN will come into town. They'll be here from the Wednesday and Thursday. They will look at what's going around, Trinity and down Temple Bar and around town, and they'll follow. So massive exposure from Ireland just outside of the game itself. In relation to the pageantry and all that, I think we miss a trick here in Ireland. The definition of tailgating over there is having a meal in a car park beside a sporting venue. We do it already. We just forget, if you take the band in Croke Park and the Aviva, they don't necessarily just have to be in the stadium, Can they be outside, particularly if you take Clonliffe and a place like that, could they be there beforehand? I think there's 40 official marching bands in Ireland. Could they work more? St. Patrick's Day, there's always a queue for American bands coming over here, so on and so forth, who want to be here at times and fundraise and come in. So I think we need to take a step up. When you see, I remember for the Penn State UCF in 14, when the GAA were involved, and Porrick Duffy coming down to Temple Bar when Penn State were doing their
their pep rally and UCF, and he said he's kind of going, why don't we do this before All Ireland on an All Ireland Saturday, whatever the case may be. But it doesn't necessarily need to be the big sporting occasions, whether it's an All Ireland. We're okay when there's a Heineken European Cup in town, that something happens around the stadium. But I think we could get a lot better and learn from our American cousins. And it's not all about, when you see tailgating going on in the States, it's not all about alcohol. It's about fun. It's about networking. It's about meeting your alumni, someone you haven't seen and it's months, it's not years in relation to us when we leave college. I think the way the guys embrace alumni, we can't even spell it. They really do stay in touch, they network, and that's probably true sport, Chet, in a big way, that they keep connected on it. So we can learn a lot. The Navy and Notre Dame guys are also going to bring a rugby team. There's going to be a number of other sports coming in, so that'll be around the city as well. So that's part of the programme. And the high school games, we're hoping at least 12 high schools from around the States will travel. And that will be probably tight for tickets for the Irish audience at this time. We're going to have hopefully some super high school games, not just been played in Dublin. We're looking to move them out into Meath and Kildare and Louth as well, and to make it a bigger event and that more people are involved. Chet might have touched on as well in relation to tourism. This is not Ireland-England, they're in for 1 or 2 nights for a big rugby game. These on average stay 7 nights. They're down in Killarney, they're down in Galway, they're up in Belfast, they come in through Shannon, so on. So this is their real Ireland event. The economy, everybody benefits, and people will be feeling this from certainly a week before the game and a week after the game, depending on how people come in and their travel arrangements, etc. So it is a win-win. But on your point, can we be smarter? Could we learn from the culture around half-time, pre-game, post-game from what our cousins in America do? Absolutely, and we should.
A conversation I had yesterday with Martin Murphy, who runs Aviva Stadium. And Martin's been a good friend of ours, and I was talking about the neighborhood, and I said, with the tailgating or the pre-game or whatever, he said, well, Chet, he goes, for a rugby match, you got about a 3-hour time block. People come in, they have a few drinks, they relax, they enjoy themselves, they watch the event, and they leave. I said, 3 hours? I mean, in American football, it's a 3-day event. That we lead up to the big game. But real quickly, just to echo a little bit, it is an event. A game like Navy-Notre Dame is so much like Army-Navy. An Army-Navy is a bucket list game for so many people, something to see that they put on their checklist, before it's all over. I want to see something like that. And it's the pageantry, as it was mentioned, and the national exposure that comes with it too. And what we're just as pleased about, in addition to the hospitality, the incredible venue, this magnificent city, the wonderful embrace that the Irish community has extended to us, is the fact that it's a game that has worldwide interest. Most teams are of parochial interest, local interest. Okay, you've got the team here, the team there, the team there. They have their local fans. When you look at Notre Dame, Notre Dame has international interest. The Irish, that's resonated with the history of college football since the inception of college football. You take a look at the Naval Academy. Unlike a lot of other parochial schools that reside in states and they've got their fans condensed to that state, the United States Navy, is all over the world as well. We'll have people coming from all over Europe, bases, Army bases, Navy bases, Marine bases, all kinds of military bases, because they adopt, their service academy, to be their team. So again, it has a worldwide embrace. There will be all kinds of divisions all over the world that'll be tuned into this game. But the most important thing is it'll bring great visibility to the country of Ireland. It'll give Ireland a chance to really put its best foot forward on a national stage, on international television.
Well, that's a key point, really, because it's interesting, Padraig, isn't it? After what we've seen over the past 18 months or so, like the Rugby World Cup bid, we were told by World Rugby that Ireland isn't ready for the World yet. We weren't able to put on an event of that scale. Like next summer, you've got this game, but let's not forget it's coming after a summer where we're going to host 3 Euro 2020 games. It's probably the summer more than any other summer in Ireland where we will be outwards facing the world.
And that weekend gets more interesting because while the past 3 games I think clashed with All-Ireland hurling final, this one clashed with All-Ireland football final. Yeah. So what a weekend in Dublin, and we'll just prove it again. Here we will bring in probably close to 40,000 visitors for a game on the Saturday, turn it around and have our 80,000 plus in for the Gaelic final on Sunday, and it will seemingly go well because most of the supporters in will leave on the Sunday morning, so the bedrooms free up for Gaelic coming in, depending on what teams are, if Dublin aren't involved or whatever the case may be. But I don't think it's missed on government or on people bidding for big events how big this can be. As you know, this is the start of a 5-game series, and we'll be annually on this date for hopefully the next 5 years at a minimum. So this is going to be part of the calendar going forward.
Could it be a learning experience as well from an Irish perspective? Because obviously the reason why World Rugby said Ireland isn't ready for the World is because there were some truths in that. I wonder, can we learn from that to actually spread this beyond Dublin in terms of actually being able to create a nationwide event down the line?
I think so. You take college football in Ireland. Chet will meet most of them later on. We have a steering committee, which is a collaboration of public and private sector. So it's your Fáilte Ireland, it's your Tourism Ireland, it's your Dublin City Councils, but it's also the private sector. Our title sponsors, Aer Lingus, Grant Thornton, Dublin Town, and so on, Glendimplex. We've them in, but we've also got the embassy are involved, Department of Education are involved because we've got an academic part of it, Department of Sport, Department of Foreign Affairs because of the connection. So we have a fabulous collaboration. As the event goes on a little bit further, on Garda Síochána join that, Dublin Bus, Dublin Transport come in on that collaboration as well. And we plan this out. And one of the biggest ones, the most simple examples of, and I think we're very good at it, in 2012, the Notre Dame numbers kept driving. I think they originally were looking at 10 to 12,000 travelling, and before you know it they were past 20,000 and heading past 25,000, and they were tailgating down in Temple Bar. And the problem come up in relation to how do we get these people to Aviva, the huge number moving from one area, they don't know our transport system, etc. And I remember us all being very quiet in the meeting going, not sure of the solution, so we banged it on to the next meeting. And to be fair to Dublin Bus, they come in, we're going to solve it, we're putting on a complimentary bus service from the Central Bank and loop it around into the Aviva over and back for all supporters going to the game. That made the Chicago, which is a big paper in Chicago, as a headline story, how Dublin's hospitality opened up. So I think we're very good at what we do. We probably don't tell the story as well at times, but we need to collaborate more, and by getting the agencies and the public and private sector together, when we go after a big bid and tell our story properly, we're capable of winning anything.
For sure.
Within reason.
That's the biggest difference, I think, this time around, Owen, is the fact that how the community is prepared and embraced, this game. As Paul mentioned a moment ago, when we came in 12, it was pretty much the uncertainty, of American football and, the agencies that you mentioned, from the tourism, to the police department, just wasn't sure what to expect. I could not be more confident in the way we've been welcomed the last 2 days. It's just extraordinary. The job that they've done in setting up the infrastructure in preparation for this game is as good as I've seen anywhere. And again, we run major events in major NFL venues in the United States. So I'm leaving here in a day or two, going back with a great degree of confidence and appreciation for what the city means, how important it is for us to do our part and deliver an event of the highest magnitude, and know that we'll be well received.
When you do go back to the United States, and I wanted to ask you about this, is your role as athletic director, and having been in roles like that for a long time now, like from Boston College to Navy, how different is the world of sport at high performance level in college football at the moment to how it used to be?
Well, I think the biggest difference is amateurism, to be honest with you. Here I know that in your professional ranks everyone's being paid, and it's a business. And there was what I would call at one point the purity of college athletics, which pretty much is you play for the passion, you play for the love, you play for the enjoyment of the game. And not to say that has gone away, but if you take a look at the amount of commercialism that's become part of college athletics today, the big business that's involved, the corporate involvement, the television exposure, the amount of dollars that are shared now through the media by virtue of leveraging, much more attractive product, even more, again, business-like product to the community. It's changed the game in many, many ways.
Should the players be getting a cut?
Players be getting a cut? The players be getting a cut?
Yeah, should they? Like with the famous example, obviously.
Well, I think probably at some point that will happen.
Yeah.
To some degree, you can see at one point it was the justification was the cost of education. You take the United States Naval Academy, 4 years of education at the Naval Academy. I'm not sure in terms of euros. You have to do your mathematics, but $400,000, is the cost of an education. Most of those schools now, the tuition at those schools can be $70,000, $80,000 a year. So when you look at that being relieved, for an individual who's asked to compete for that institution, you'd say, hey, that's not a bad compensation. But the numbers at one point were somewhat comparable. Now, again, the money that is coming in to the schools, the salaries that are being paid to college coaches, the salaries that are being paid to their assistants because, again, of the influx of television dollars has, I wouldn't say it's greed, but there's a dimension of uncertainty and a dimension of being uncomfortable that there's so much money that's being now infused in college athletics. Shouldn't the players get a piece of that?
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of movement in that direction, but to professionalize it would change the whole character of college athletics and make it a quasi, semi-pro environment, which is something we don't want to do.
I guess like the big example recently was Zion Williamson in the basketball going down, blowing his knee out in a pair of Nike shoes that didn't stand up, and Nike obviously getting good exposure. The college is getting a decent slice of that pie. That nobody's suggesting that they should go full-time athletes because the education is important, but slice of the pie mightn't be the worst.
Scholarship side, though, is huge in relation to what you pay fees in the States from that angle. But probably from getting to know Chet and getting to know the colleges we've worked with, the football team or the football department pay for the other 20 or 30 sports that are involved in an academic programme, etc., because they don't have the same exposure in relation to, or the same level of revenues come in. So football certainly, and basketball probably, and one or two others play towards the allowing 30, 40 different teams play and scholarships towards that as well.
I think we all strive to be self-sustaining, generate enough revenue to make certain you can, as we do at Navy, offer 33 different programs from squash to tennis to swimming to football, basketball, and baseball, which we do a pretty good job at that. But again, it's the excessive dollars. When you start paying a college basketball coach $10 million a year, that's not a bad salary.
No.
And the players are looking around going, well, I get lodging, that's nice. I get a meal, that's terrific. I get my books taken care of. But, what else is there here in terms of some, gravy, as they say?
Yeah.
And especially when they're the show, right?
Yeah.
The athlete's the show, So anyways, we'll see what happens down the road. But there's a big tug-of-war in college athletics now between, again, the purity, again, I'm repeating, but of amateurism, and keeping them in the context of education and the semi-professional connotation that seems to be creeping into college athletics at large.
Yeah, it certainly seems to be the tug-of-war that's constantly going on.
Yep.
Listen, folks, thanks a million for coming in. Chet Gladchuck and Paraic O'Kane. It's part of the Aer Lingus College Football Series, and it is next year. It is Navy against Notre Dame. Thanks a million.
Thanks, Owen.
Welcome.